up here on my bench is something that I don't normally have, and that would be a server class workstation, which is what it was marketed as, or basically just a high-end workstation for the enterprise environment. So this particular one is an HP workstation, XW6200. Now the 6200 came out in, I don't remember exactly, I believe it was 2004 or so. This came with Windows XP 64-bit or 32-bit. It was also available to preload this thing with a Linux operating system. Which Linux operating system I am not completely sure about. But this thing is a pretty high-class machine, in my opinion, even by today's standards. It's very well built, as were most servers and workstations of the time, and it's got room for expandability. So let's take a look inside this thing and see what we've got. I've already taken the cover off, however I have not powered this thing on yet, so we will see that at a later point in the video. There we go. The side panel comes off with some persuasion. On the inside of the side panel there's the model of computer and the schematic for the motherboard and some memory installation instructions. And going to the inside, we've got a lot of things in here, a lot of things of interest. Up in the top left-hand corner, we've got a pretty meaty power supply made by Delta Electronics. It's a 440 watt power supply. Server grade, of course, something that's going to last quite a while. There's two optical drive bays, I should say. One IDE optical drive in there. I believe it's a DVD burner. DVD-ROM, I don't think it's a burner. Hard drive in there. I do not believe this is the original drive, but I don't know. It's an 80 gig Samsung? Yes, that's a Samsung. 80 gigabyte Samsung, which may actually be the original because it has an HP sticker on the top. Connected via SATA to one of the two SATA ports on here. So you can tell this thing is a bit aged by it only having two SATA ports, and I would assume they are SATA 1. It's got a couple of IDE connectors on there as well as a floppy connector. One of the IDE connectors is facing upwards, the other one is going off the side of the board. This one is for the optical drive. This one is for an optional hard drive that it could have come from the factory with. Coming around to the expansion cards, we have two NIC cards. I believe these are just 10100, but there they are. They're both made by IBM. They're both almost exactly the same as far as I can tell. One might be a later revision, but they are quite similar. Up on top is something that I haven't looked at yet, if I'm honest. It's a Quadro Nvs 260, which I believe was a 64 or 128 meg card. I want to say 64, but I'm not sure. And of course, it has one of these stupid connections on it that you have to attach a pigtail to. Luckily for me, I have that pigtail. And this is something that I almost didn't pick up when I got the machine, because I didn't know what went with it, but I'm really, really glad I did, because I don't have any of those. Coming back to the motherboard, we've got a couple other things of interest. The RAM, not very interesting. It has 4 gigs of DDR2. Not sure how much it will take. I would assume 4 or 8. As it is DDR2, I don't know. It could be quite a bit. But it has 4 gigs of Elpida brand DDR2 at the moment. And then we have the very interesting things, a pair of Pentium 4 based Xeon processors. According to the datasheet on this particular model, these are 3.4 gigahertz Pentium 4 based Xeons. Again, I haven't started this thing up, so I don't know what it's going to do, but I'm assuming that they're both in working order because it just physically looks like they're going to be in working order. They've got some pretty massive heat sinks on them as well. Very, very nice. Big fan grill that pokes out from the front a bit. Warning, surfaces may be hot. Well, I don't doubt you there, HP. So, that's about it for the inside. If I can think of anything, I will add it here. If not, I'm going to plug this thing in and give it a power on test. Okay, I have it set up. Got it plugged into, ironically, a Dell keyboard. And I'm going to plug it in and see if it lights on fire. I hear a click. No signs of life just yet, which is an okay thing. And we'll go ahead and whack the power button. So it turns on. Turn my monitor on. Nothing of interest in there. Heard the floppy drive seek, and this is probably on the wrong source. Yes, it is. So there's the splash screen. BIOS version 1.07. Taking an awfully long time to post, in my opinion. But we'll see where it goes. Okay, so this looks like my configuration changed for whatever reason. We'll just go ahead and save that and reboot. And while that's rebooting, I'll go over here and show you something that I noticed right away that I've seen only a couple of times on some other machines, and that is the presence of an LED indicator on the motherboard. Now, from what I've read before, this is for things such as diagnostics or error messages, which would be diagnostics, I guess. It hasn't lit up just yet, so I'm going to assume that's a good thing. But that was an interesting little tidbit. So it's got Windows XP 64-bit on there. I don't know if this is the version that it's always had. It's very, very likely. Now, this computer came out of a it came out of a phone company, a very major supplier of phones for the business world. I'm not going to mention who, but it was a pretty big company. Windows is starting up. Administrator, I don't know the password. Please be nothing. Please be no password. I don't think my keyboard's working. Okay then, I have another keyboard plugged in, this time in the PS2 port. I went ahead and took the liberty of removing the password because I didn't know it. And now it's going to boot into Windows and hopefully let me log in. And it looks like that's going to be successful. After we log in, I'll take a look at the specifications of the computer, see what it had on it, which looks like not very much, because it may have been erased. But I'll take a look at the specs and see what we can find. So here we have it, Windows XP 64-bit edition, version 2003, Service Pack 2, registered to somebody, and it has dual Intel Xeon processors at 3.2 gigahertz and 4 gigs of DDR2 RAM. And we can confirm that it has 2 by looking in the device manager and seeing 2 in there. So, from my quick look around, it doesn't seem as though anything is installed on this other than drive repair and speed fan. That's about it. So I'm going to assume this has been wiped because, I mean, if it was being used as a workstation, it was very, very, very lightly used. So that's about it for this machine. I can't think of anything else to mention. It has a floppy drive. I could mention that. I don't think I mentioned that yet. And the artifact for a FireWire port. But honestly, guys, not that much to say about it. But overall, it's a nice system, very well built, and it's just not of any use to me. So that's it for this video. If you have any questions about this thing, feel free to ask them. I will do my best to answer. And if you want to see a follow-up video of me doing anything on this particular machine, I'd be more than happy to do that. I do have plans before I sell this. I may try to make this into a gaming machine, very low-end gaming machine, but a gaming machine nonetheless. Just stick a better graphics card in there, maybe stick a SATA 2 card in there, as well as an SSD. See what I can do with it. If it doesn't work, it doesn't work, but it would be kind of a cool project. Anyway guys, thank you for watching, hope you enjoyed, and stay tuned for more.